validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I appreciate your patience. Another late day, hour late, dollar short, but we still got it going on. I tell you guys on a regular basis, we don't let the sun rise without going live. So whenever we start on a daily basis. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Also make note, because YouTube is changing up the algorithm, make it harder for the young guys to get in there, the small channels to get in there. Put your efforts into mashing those reaction buttons if you get your hands on them, if you can see them on your access channels, and hype the podcast. If you ever see any questionnaire, throw us a 5-star in there, show us some love to help boost us up. Special shout out to those of you that's watching us on Twitch. I see you guys. Special shout out to Danny, Stefan, and Red Void, Omni81. And then for you guys that are over there on Twitter, because I mean, yeah, we're about to start talking about some governmental stuff that's going on today. And typically that's the kind of stuff that Twitter likes to see. So I really appreciate you guys. Note that you guys can comment active podcasts. So I do respond to your comments. Keep your comments reasonably appropriate. While it is an adult channel, we do have some individuals under the age of 18 that pop in to come and learn something. So let's make sure that we keep even our disagreements at a reasonably appropriate level. Now, everybody who's anybody from Twitch, Twitter, and or YouTube, if your appropriate comments come up onto the screen as it stands so far, you will have your comments pop up onto the screen. You guys have the opportunity to click the link that you see in your comment section, approve the mic, approve the camera. And if you do so, you'll pop up into my little green room here, and then I'll be able to bring you guys onto the show in real time so you can say what you got to say and bypass the latency. Beyond that, got to be over the age of 18 and jump up onto the show. You can do everything from comment on the topic of discussion. Sometimes we have had a redirection of conversation to something completely off topic. We are okay with strongman conversations and giving shout outs to your city, state, country, best friends. We had some birthday shout outs over the most recent week. So like we authorize all of those things to occur. So any type of participation on this active podcast, by all means, go ahead and give it a go. As I told you earlier, we are a live podcast. It is 7 nights a week. We have a different topic every night of the week, but it's themed around personal improvement and financial improvement, and everything else that we talk about along the way will improve you in some way, shape, or form. Just like when we were talking about the Fit Chef program that the podcast is sponsoring right now. You guys can get your accessibility to a better, healthier diet plan where it gives you recipes that you can utilize. And as I showed you guys yesterday, actually it was what I made enchiladas, and we managed to equivalent about $3.75 per enchilada was the cost of making them. And then two of them it was a filling meal for two of them. So basically it was a $7 meal at the house. And I was able to make off of 3 pieces of chicken worth about 75 enchiladas. So that was incredible because I still have a pack and a half of chicken left and a large majority of the ingredients, which means that I could still migrate through to doing probably 100 or so, 100 to 200 enchilada. Well, I want to say on a real tip, if I've done about 75, 20 so far off of the pack that I got, if I was to double that or quadruple that, multiplied by 4, then I probably would have about 60 or so and 60 to 80 enchiladas, depending on portion distribution, for the whole $150 worth of groceries that I bought for the quesadillas and everything else that I was supposed to be doing. But be that as it may, $60 worth going into $150, you're looking at upward of like $2 or $2.50 per unit, which still far cheaper than Taco Bell. So, and you're full. So either way it goes, it's still healthy eating and higher protein, higher carb diet, which also saves you a lot of money. So that's what we want to do. We want to save you money so that you can invest your money, so that you can work on this downturn. Because for those of you that was following the stocks that we were talking about last week, 6 out of 8 stocks that I had talked about last week just went up over the weekend. They're reaching their ex-dividend dates, and usually when they start getting closer to the ex-dividend dates, a lot of stocks go up. But they all went up closer to 4 to 7%. So note that the difference between the increase in the value of the share versus the dividend distribution of the share determines whether or not you're going to sell high and buy low. But the fact is that there is fluctuations happening right now. You guys got to stay tuned because I got some more that I'm going to give you after we finish talking about the main topic today. So I'll be giving you some ETFs and other government things that you can invest in later today with the share price, the buying price of those, since today we're going to be talking about government entities that are going to be impacting us. Mostly the Gen Z. So the channel is primarily 25 to 45 is the age range, which is about 80% of the followership right now. And that's a really fantastic position to be in. However, I understand that there are some young adults that are coming to the show that are young college students or pre-college students that are intending on going to college. And the changes that are being made right now is going to drastically impact future college students. So I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about today, as well as some of the other hype that we have seen in media in recent times. Now, we didn't talk about it last week because we had other things that we were talking about, because we were trying to get your money up while we were dealing with the tariff shifts and TikTok being delayed on being bought from Beijing's ability to not allow confidential technology or algorithms and stuff to transfer into the hands of their competitors or rival countries or whatever the case may be. But that doesn't change the fact that eventually all of the important things that negatively impacts the average person's bottom dollar is what we're going to talk about today. So stay tuned, because I know some of y'all going to have some questions. Imagine this. The government has discovered that $312 million in small business loans were handed out to businesses supposedly owned by some as young as 11 years old. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, it happened. And it's just one example of how fraudsters exploited the system, putting your tax dollars at risk. Now, first, the Small Business Administration and the Department of Government Efficiency have uncovered a jaw-dropping scandal. Nearly 5,600 loans totaling that $312 million were issued to businesses where the only listed owner was 11-year-olds or younger during the COVID pandemic. Now, I'm going to tell you, back in my day, and when I say back in my day, because I'm one of the Gen Xers, back in my day, I am familiar with parents using their kids on applications because the parents would get denied based on their poor credit. Children typically don't have credit, or if they have credit, they would have perfect credit because their credit has not been negatively impacted yet. Some children grew up and in their teenage years realized that they started life with bad credit because their parents was using their social security number for things like utility accounts and stuff to that effect, so that they could gain access to bare necessities that they otherwise would have gotten disqualified on because they got charged off on their utility bill or other such. These things were an issue back in the day, but it really only negatively impacted the applicant, the person who's now trying to get a loan, because now you're 18 and you've been in the collection agency for 7 years and you're trying to get your first loan and you're denied your first loan because you've been in collection agency for 7 years. Situations like that. But the fraudulent behavior, white collar crime, has become more dominant in the country, because knocking people off and trying to get yours doesn't work very well for two reasons. Not a lot of people got a lot of stuff to be knocked off and taken because everybody leaves their money in the bank these days. And then also not a lot of people got a lot of money to be knocked off because they don't have any money. Now, the other thing that makes that a little bit more of a problem is that these days we have a lot more social media. We have a lot more CCTV cameras throughout the cities, on traffic corners and street lights and stuff to that effect. And they're in places where not too many people who decide to commit crimes look. But guess what? Because physically getting out there and getting your money is more dangerous for the criminals than it is for the people who are getting caught. The criminals have started doing white collar crime. They remember back in the day when the government wasn't paying attention to stuff, that they could use a dead person's identity, because they're not going to complain, and get somebody with good credit and go out there and utilize that person's good credit to establish themselves identities for business loans, car loans, any type of loan opportunity. They used to have this thing in the hood, and it reminds me of that movie I Got the Hookup by Master P, where people would sell good credit in the hood. And the only way that they could really do that is if they had an identity that was attached to good credit. And then that identity would be utilized on the application to get approved for whatever it is that they were trying to accomplish. And then you just exist on that scenario. Now, I said before, I don't agree with crime, but if you're going to do it, you're going to do it in a way where it doesn't leave a paper trail. Folks that finance cars, as long as the finance exists and the loan hasn't been paid off, somebody is going to go and look for the original applicant of that car. Finance a house, as long as the original mortgage is out there, somebody's going to come back and look for the original mortgager. As it stands, people who took out small business loans now being audited by the U.S. government, everybody back in 2019, 2020, which was almost 6 years ago. Well, 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, who filed fraudulently to get government funds from potential shell corporations that had nothing other than a tax identification number and a mailing address to receive the checks, utilize claimed owners with false identities that had ideally qualifiable credit to receive loans so that those individuals could get money that they otherwise would not have qualified for. And that loan process actually negatively impacted a lot of people who would have otherwise qualified, because you have to understand that during that time period, a lot of businesses was filing. Now, they're being flagged for something as simple, outrageous ages. Now, we're going to be talking about these age ranges, but I was actually pretty interested in the top end. And the reason why I was pretty interested about the top end was because apparently they do have people that are over 100 years old that are still alive and functioning in this country. And I'm just like, well, what's going on with that? But even more astonishing, you had over 3,000 loans that was worth 333 million that went to borrowers listed as over 115 years old, according to the Social Security records. My man. Special shout out to Mr. Satellite. You told me to make that highlight. I'm gonna try to get it over the next couple of days because I just started trying to find me some free space. But what I got for you right now is a little bit of an intro because, like I told you, when you guys jump into the comment section, I give you a little bit of a walkthrough, a few seconds, and then we get back to our topic of discussion. He puts itself on blast. One time we're gonna have like Titantrons going on and everything like that. It's gonna be crazy, but you're gonna love it. And we're waiting on Bayside to show up, Usman and Ruderus. And then we're gonna go ahead and get back to work. I was about to put it off. He said, Bayside, come on in. he said, Bayside, come on in. Carl come in too. Special shout out to Carl as well. Oh yeah, because today be the day that Carl would show up, wouldn't it? Now, in one notorious case, a loan was approved for a supposed business owner who was 157 years old. And that wasn't just a paperwork error. The Government Accountability Office estimates that across all pandemic relief programs, over 200 billion, nearly 17% of the total funds may have been paid out fraudulently due to lax oversight and flawed machine learning fraud detection systems. For comparison, fraudulent unemployment insurance payments during the pandemic reached $191 billion. So instead, we had people that were filing for unemployment compensation during pandemic, whether they had jobs or not. And some people were filing for other people, whether those people were living with them or not, and they were receiving checks for a bunch of people that didn't exist. And then other people were swinging, and they were out there committing fraud, and they were utilizing, because really, before they put a price tag on it, and now the price tag is almost $300 for a tax identification number. Back in the day, you could just ask for a tax identification number and they would give you one, depending on what you were getting it for. And then now you're paying like almost $300 for a tax identification number. But if you could put down $300 for an tax identification number during those days, where you could give that tax identification number to the right person and that person gets you like 40 grand, it was easy to do because you're getting fully reimbursed on your investment, but it was fraud. Now your business needs to be more legitimized, and it's going to be tough for the rest of us who are out there doing startups, because you have to show the legitimacy and standings of the business before you get qualified for the loan. The higher the loan, the higher the scrutiny. That's going to be one of the things we're going to be dealing with coming soon. So what's being done about the fraud? Well, the Small Business Administration is working with the Department of Government Efficiency, and they're cracking down hard. They've rolled out strict new safeguards. Now, every loan applicant must prove citizenship and provide a valid birth date. And this valid date of birth is going to be for applicants from 18 and older that must be primarily under 120 years old. So any applicants that are under the age of 18 or over 120 years old are automatically flagged and paused for review, closing loopholes that allowed fraudsters to use the identities of children or deceased individuals. Now, the new system instantly flags suspicious applications, preventing disbursement before fraud can occur. A lot of times people would apply for something that is in a shall issue state, and because the application went out, the money would be released within a reasonable period of time before the application is done being processed, in order for them to fast track applications. If the paperwork checked all the boxes, the money was by default released. Now they're putting a hold on situations where age is a question mark or citizenship status is a question mark, because apparently for them to force the proving of your citizenship status, there are some people that are applying using false credentials for either non-American applicants or using non-American identities as American applicants to fraudulently cheat the system. They're not going to be able to do that anymore. Now, the SBA has established a dedicated team and plans to appoint a fraud czar to identify, stop, and recover criminally obtained funds. So everybody who got that lit back in 19 and 20, they coming for y'all. And y'all know that when y'all owe the government money, y'all seen what they did to MC Hammer. You know they not going to be nice about this, especially with situations that happened during the pandemic, because all actions and activities that happened during the pandemic happened under martial law. So you already know that if they come for you during the martial law accusation, they're not going to be very friendly with you. The SBA is conducting an independent audit and terminating contracts linked to fraud. So any ongoing payment distributions, any applicants that should not have qualified, that did qualify, that is in any type of program that would have provided them with ongoing access to benefits, all of those individuals cut off. While working with DOGE, I love it, to investigate improper loans. Now, they're going to recover these funds. The agency is reviewing all pandemic era loans for abuse and has instituted a zero tolerance policy for fraud with ongoing efforts to strengthen oversight and close those loopholes. And they determined to claw back every dollar they can. So either they garnish your wages, repossess all of your assets, put your ass in jail, have you on probation doing community service for the rest of your life, they're gonna get it out of you one way or another. Now, the SBA aims to complete its reviews and reconciliations of these suspicious loans by June 30th of 2025. We're in May, come this weekend, right? So you've got about 2 months left and they might pull your ticket. So if you're watching today's platform, if you ain't packed your stuff up and hop to a plane out of the country, it might be too late come June. But they're going to have further procedures set forth as of August 31st of 2025. So 2 months after they walk through all of them pandemic ones, they're going to have a whole new process set up for August. But that's not the only shakeup happening here. Let's talk about student loans. Big changes are underway. The management of federal student loans is moving from the Department of Education to the SBA, Small Business Administration. For now, your loan terms won't change, but with the SBA facing a 43% staff cut and little experience handling student debt, you guys better brace yourselves for possible delays, errors, and confusion. Since President Trump signed an executive order transferring management of federal student loan programming totaling about 1.6 trillion in debt owed by over 43 million borrowers from the Department of Education to the Small Business Administration. This is a part of a broader plan to phase out the Department of Education and shift key programs to other agencies, but the SBA is simultaneously undergoing a 43% reduction in workforce due to the downsizing of government agents, raising concerns about its capacity to manage in an ongoing fashion a $1 trillion loan portfolio serving over 40 million borrowers. And here's where it gets personal. If the government's long-term plans go through privatizing student loans and eliminating forgiveness programs, future students may have to rely on private banks for college funding. That means stricter requirements, higher interest rates, and fewer protections. For many colleges, for many students, college could be harder to afford than ever. In fact, in a fully privatized system, banks and private lenders would become the main source of student loans, where these lenders would assess applicants based on credit worthiness, income potential, school attended, and fields of study. Students with limited credit history or no cosigner could face significant barriers and access to higher interest rates or outright denial. Now, when I was telling you guys before all this shit kicked up, the government funded student loans were at fixed 4 to 8% loan ratios. That's not what you guys are going to be getting from private lenders right now, while they have not started doing this yet. And you're still getting your Fannie Mae or Nancy Drew or whoever the heck the student loan is coming from, Fed loan, wherever you're getting your loan from here in 2025 from the government, while they're still giving you those deferred loans with low interest rates, those deferred loans with deferred interest rates until you graduate, where you don't have to make payments on those loans until 6 months after you finish college. Y'all better take advantage of that right now. Get as much of them as you can before he passed this out, because I told you before, with 15 to 22% interest rates on some of these real estate investment trusts that I've been telling you about, that 4 to 8% loan that you would be getting from your school would be offset by 15 to 22% profit margin. Whatever you don't need for your education, you invest it, you take the profits from that, you can pay for further education, you can pay back the loan, you got money left over, you can walk into college broke, walk out of college rich, and still have a piece of paper that says that you went to college, because the paper don't mean nothing. The paper means absolutely nothing. The knowledge that you can get from going there or doing your due diligence and research or just learning on the job or having a mentor that already has the knowledge and they pass the knowledge off to you are all different ways that you can gain the knowledge. But because education has been a privatized financial source, they make that piece of paper as a funnel to force people into the educational system in order to get a good job. But we already talked about this on the show, that when you go to college, you get a piece of paper that does not give you on-the-job experience. You just get book knowledge. And that book knowledge is not applicable to real-world job experience. So then you still need on-the-job training after you do your 4 to 8 years of college. And I say 4 to 8 years of college because every degree is 150% to complete it or more. And a 4-year degree is going to take 6 years on average, which is why it's 150% to complete it. And if you've got any prerequisites that you got to take on top of that, you're looking at 8 years of college. So a decade out of your life from 18 to 28 or from 18 to 26, or for you return students from 30 to 38, y'all are going to be looking at almost a decade of being in college so that you can meet that goal that you're trying to get, to have that piece of paper. And again, ladies, if you're investing the money you don't need instead of paying your rent, light, gas, and getting your hair and nails did and going out to the sorority events and stuff to that effect, y'all will be rich. I can't say that you'll be millionaires because most of the time you're probably only going to cross about $20,000 to $30,000 an academic semester. So you're probably pulling back about $90,000 to $100,000 a year off of your education. And if you're only taking the difference off your loans and putting it on stocks and bonds, you're probably only putting away about $50,000 a year. But if you're putting away $50,000 a year, remember I told you that putting away $40,000 a year over the course of 10 years would make you a millionaire. You know, you putting away $50,000 a year over the course of 8 years, you should have about $900,000 plus interest. Just do the math. Now, understand it, because you're reinvesting your principal. If you get your dividends and you're getting 40,000 difference between paying for your full ride education and then taking a change of putting it into a stock option and then taking the interest, putting it back in there. When you put your first 50 grand up there and they give you back 20 grand, you're putting another 50 grand up there with the 20 grand, you're putting up 70 grand a second time. And so forth and so forth and so forth, where you start putting away 100 grand, 200 grand a year. So by year 8 or year 9, you would be sitting at close to $900,000, if not $1 million, if you're not spending any of the money while you're in school, any of the money that you don't need. That's going to change when private lenders are going to be giving you 15 to 25% interest on your student loan. Now, if the private lenders are giving you 8% or 10% interest on your student loans, which might still be higher than the college loans that are being given right now by the government, between 4 to 8%, you still could do the exact same thing, borrowing money from a private lender at 10% interest and invest it into a stock option that's paying you 20% interest or 15% interest. You would only get a 5% profit off of it, but you would still get your free ride through college. You would still be able to have profits left over, and you could take the dividends from your stock investments and pay off your student loan. So it's still a benefit to do it even through a private lender, but you're going to make a whole lot more money right now before they privatize it. So why not do it? Why not take advantage of whatever accessibility to resources that you got before the system changes and make yourself some money? Now, while student loans would be privatized, federal grants like the Pell Grant and scholarships might still be available, but these, due to these do not cover the full cost of the student's education due to inflation of the cost of education. Because if anybody who's gone to college knows that your in-class lectures cost less than your online lectures, and sometimes less than your hybrid lectures. And there's some teachers that only teach online or hybrid lectures, where you end up, instead of paying maybe $20 to $50 per credit hour, you end up paying $75 to $150 per credit hour. And then you still got to do 3 credit hours. And they end up taking, per class, you end up taking a few $1,000s out just for the class. And then you think, oh, well, that's not a lot of money. Well, no, it's a lot of money, because your books, your lab equipment, if you've got to buy the lab coats and goggles and all this other stuff that you got to have for your class, then all of the materials for your projects, the school supply papers, testing equipment. They don't give you testing equipment in college. You got to buy your own testing equipment. So Scantrons, pencils, ink pens, all this stuff is for sale at school. It's a big business. Plus you got to eat while you're out there, right? So it could become costly. So the Pell Grants and the scholarships don't always cover all of it. Usually it subsidizes it, and you tend to have to fall back on a decent quantity of subsidized loans, which are loans that do not provide interest until after you graduate. But a lot of students have to fall back on unsubsidized loans in addition to subsidized loans, because they don't have enough money to cover their standard of living. The college education is the cost of living and the cost of education combined. The school reimburses the student for the cost of anything over the cost of education, so that the student can utilize that for the cost of living. And if you live on campus, the cost of living is sometimes, depending on the university, factored into your tuition. And then the cost of living and cost of education is taken out, and whatever's left over, you'd probably be using that on food and transportation and stuff to get to and from school. But if you don't need that money, invest it. Now, some students might supplement private loans with work-study programs or institutional scholarships. And you guys might even find paid internships, which might give you on-the-job experience in addition to a little bit of money to subsidize your education. But these sources are limited and highly competitive. The House GOP's new student loan plan will eliminate most current repayment options, replacing them with just 2: a fixed monthly payment or a repayment assistance plan capped at 10% of income, meaning that they're not going to charge you more than 10% of your income to pay back the loan. But that does not mean that they're not going to what? Oh, that's on the 5th. Like, they just sent me a message booking Lord, I got clients right now that's just spending money right now. They're like, hey, I need your services. I'm looking, it said 2:30, but that's on the 5th. Today is not the 5th. Today's 28th. I'm like, all right, I got you. Talk to you after the show. I can't even pronounce this name. This name is in Chinese. But special shout out. Lenny. Now, while so back to what we're talking about, by them capping it at 10% of your income, let's say that you've got a $2,000 a month income. For those of you that are living, well, let's do a little bit higher than that, because I know that a lot of us are kind of grinding right around $50,000, $45,000 a year. So let's say that you're rocking about a $4,000 a month income, right? And I understand money is tight, but because you got these student loans, if they don't give you a fixed monthly payment that is less than that, they might do a payment assistance program if you've got a lot of student debts for capped at 10% of your income, which means you're still paying $400 a month out of your $4,000 a month income. That shit ain't cheap. That's a car note, my dude, which is what I was telling students back in the day. If you're not going to invest your money, buy you a car cash up front. If you're not going to invest your money, buy you a house cash up front. because once you get out of college, those are the two things that you use your credit for, is to buy a car and buy a house. Your interest rates is based off of your insurance rates are based off of your credit score. So if you have a low credit score, you have higher insurance rates. So if you got a ton of student debt, you've got a very unfavorable credit score, which means you have a very unfavorable debt to credit, which means your interest rates for your car is going to be higher, your mortgage is going to be higher, and it's going to be harder to buy a car after you get out of college. So if you don't get it while you're in college, when everything's in your favor, when you can stack up student credit cards and stack up student loans and really align yourself positively in your economy, if you're not doing that while you're in college, it's too late when you get out of college. That rebuilding phase is a son of a bitch. I can tell you, it is the toughest thing to get back on your feet after you done hit rock bottom fresh out of college. I can tell you that. A lot of us can attest to the fact that they didn't do what they were supposed to do in college. When they got out of college, they hit the school of hard knocks a second time, and they had to grind, because not only are you now getting extra money to cover any child support payments and alimony, but now you got extra government funds that you got to pay back on top of that. Right now it is still a tax deduction for you to pay off your government loans, but you just forked over, because I mean, if they took your whole income tax check, your refund check, and put it towards your loan, you still owe money. And if you default on a loan, not only do you still got to pay the loan, it negatively impacts your credit, which means you can't borrow nothing from nowhere else. You can't do nothing nowhere else. It's just not in your favor. So while the plan aims to tackle negative amortizations and reduce taxpayer costs, potentially saving $100 to $127 billion over the next decade, it would also dismantle popular IDR plans and the Biden era SAVE plan, leaving future borrowers with fewer safety nets. For now, the terms, interest rates, and borrower rights on existing federal student loans remain unchanged, as these are protected by law and contracts. However, the SBA is simultaneously slashing its workforce for that maintenance of your contracts, which is going to raise a lot of concerns about the capacity to manage your student loans appropriately, which means that you might see a payment not be registered correctly. They might be charging you extra interest for something that you shouldn't be charged interest in. The administration is removing those income-driven repayment applications and is signaling the potential changes for reductions to the program, like the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Plan and the rest of the IDRs. So over the past 3 years, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness provided like $69 billion in relief to nearly 1 million public service workers, but up to 3.6 million more could lose out on $250 billion in forgiveness of the program if it is eliminated. So this is going to suck, because customer service is going to be horrible. You're going to have longer wait times than with the IRS and the Social Security Administration office. You're going to have less cooperation and pretty much no negotiation. If the federal loans are privatized, since the students seeking bachelor's degrees and master's degrees will have to rely on private banks and lenders, they're going to be dealing with stricter eligibility, higher interest rates, and fewer protections, where private loans typically lack income-driven repayment and forgiveness options, making college less accessible for many. So once this goes into effect, you're going to see yourself having less of an opportunity to make it to college, which might make the bachelor's degree more valuable and make the master's degree even more valuable, because it's going to be harder to get to financially. Even places like Harvard, that is now offering free education for people under $200,000 a year income, you still got to have the grades to get into Harvard. That don't mean just because they're gonna let you in because you broke, don't mean that you're not gonna have a hard way to go for everybody who paid to go. Y'all know we done seen in movies where people get hazed because they part of the free program in a university that is paid by your way. You understand? So what does this mean for you? Well, if you're a small business owner, you're going to expect more rigorous checks and longer process times for your SBA loans. If you're a student or a borrower, you're going to have to stay vigilant because your loan terms are safe for now, but customer service disruptions, fewer repayment options, and the end of forgiveness programs could be coming very, very soon. And for public service workers, because a lot of us go to college, we get these educational degrees or these government agency degrees, and then we say, oh, well, I'm gonna go work for the government. I'm gonna go be a teacher. I'm gonna be a public defender or something to that effect, and work off the debt for our law degree, or work off the debt for our medical degree, work off the debt for our education degree. You got people who will work in the ER or community clinics or something like that to work off the debt. Nah. You guys, you public service workers, the stakes are enormous because the end of public service relief funds could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra debt for millions of teachers, nurses, and first responders. So in short, the government is tightening the reins on fraud and overhauling student loans, but these changes come with new risks, fewer protections, and a lot of uncertainties for millions of Americans. You got to stay informed and keep your records up and be ready for more changes ahead. So what can you do to stay alert? If you keep your records of your loans and watch out for any updates, and as they send you guys regular recommendations, you can pay attention to what's changing. And remember, if you stay to this show, we'll tip you off in a reasonable period of time when drastic change occurs. But if you remember that these changes affect not just numbers on a page, but real people, students, families, and small business owners across the country, you understand that this is not going to be something small, and it is also going to be something permanent. Now, as I told you guys, for those of you that are still here, I really appreciate you guys for hanging out. Make sure y'all like and subscribe as y'all slide through. But we are now going to take a couple of minutes to talk about a few good places to put your money. The best government bonds and treasury ETFs in 2025 as we have discovered them. You've got some iShares 0 to 3 month treasury bond ETFs, that's SGov, which yield 4.2 to 4.3%. You're looking at buying in at $100.65 per share. Extremely low risk, ultra short durations, high yields, high liquidation, and it tracks the U.S. Treasury bonds with maturities of 0 to 3 months. And there's my boy, Bayside. Ah, man. We'll have to get you a Titantron too someday. Hopefully you've been here since at least halfway through, because I know it's been a late start. And we're getting back to it. Oh, hold on. I love this part. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe and use those reaction buttons. Make sure that y'all promote the channel whenever y'all get any kind of survey that they ask you guys about the channel. Make sure that y'all show them, hey, this is a place to go to get some stuff. And then we're going to get back into it. Bayside says, sorry, fellas, I was just watching the Golden State playing the Houston Rockets. It's almost over. Oh, that's all right. About to get my pen and paper. Perfect timing then, because you just slid right in at the right time. Now, I'm going to go back over for you. iShare. It's a 0 to 3 month Treasury bond ETF, ticker SGOV. It's $100 a share. You can find that one in Charles Schwab. Hold on, I got you. Hold on a second. I'm gonna do this like I did last week, and I'm gonna drop. So pay attention for those of you that are here on TikTok. I mean, not TikTok, on Twitter and Twitch. I'm gonna put it into the comment section so you can get your hands on it. Write these things down, because you're gonna love the fact that these things are accessible to you. And I went the extra mile today, which is another reason why I was a little bit late. Or not a little bit late. I was a lot of bit late, but I actually went and found where you can utilize the platforms to invest in these. So you're going to actually not just be able to just go Google it. It's like, oh, if you go to these specific places, you will be able to have full access to. Hold on, let me grab them all, because there's a lot of them here. And these there we go. All right, hold on. So let's see. We're gonna grab. There we go. So these are the places where you can invest in them. So Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Public, and JP Morgan self-directed investing are places where you can go for these specific for this specific one. And they're about $100 a share for this one. There's another one here that you can get that's also an iShare short treasury bond ETF, but it has a different ticker of SHV. So you got to make sure that you pay attention to the ticker of the individual stocks, but there you should be able to find them in the same location. And these are $110 a share. Still have, these are all low risk scenarios. This one is going to be a short-term, stable, easy to buy and sell. And this was also going to track the U.S. Treasury bonds with maturities up to 1 year. Now, the next one we're going to be talking about is Vanguard. And Vanguard Ultra Short Treasury ETF is going to be one that you guys are going to want to look into. And for those of you that are watching us on Twitter or Twitch, if you come to the show on a YouTube channel, the comment section re-rolls live during the show. So if you miss out on any of these, you can come back and get them by watching the show a second time. This one is going to be another low risk one, popular with retail investors, where you're investing in 1 to 3 year treasuries, where you're going to find this one in Vanguard, Fidelity, and Charles Schwab. And each one of these investments, or most of these investments, have different access points. So you're not going to be able to find all of them in the same place. And some of them are not going to be where others are located at, but you will be able to find all of them, because I have found all of them for you. You're welcome. We have the Charles Schwab short-term U.S. Treasury ETF, which is SCHO. This one's a little bit different, $50 to $60 for the treasuries. And these bonds, remember I told you guys before that the backed by the government bonds, these are typically the ones that are guaranteed to pay. And that's why because it's buying government debt. So it's a good place to put your money. And some of these can be tax deferred as well as tax exempt, depending on the scenario. Now, this one, Charles Schwab, is going to be found at Charles Schwab, ideally, but also Fidelity and Public. And that's the name of the company, is Public. I'm like, why is public there? Now we got another one from Schwab. Schwab putting in a lot of work. Hold on, let me grab it. Schwab Intermediate U.S. Treasury ETFs. Yeah, because I did short term and this is intermediate. So you think it's the same. It's not the same. They have different tickers. This one is a different price from the other one. Because we had your short term and then your intermediate term. And check those tickers. Those tickers are different. And this one is also going to be good for core portfolio diversifications, investments in treasuries with 3 to 10 year maturity rates. Now, the next one we've got is a Vanguard, and we've got about a list of about 10 here, if I remember correctly, a little close, a little bit more. But this is a Vanguard Total Bond Market ETF. So for those of you that are looking for this one, about $70 to $80 on this one. And this one can be found. Where to find it? Vanguard, Charles Schwab, and Fidelity. And we're going to try to get that over here too. And then Fidelity Total Bond ETF. Fidelity Total Bond ETF is going to be a little bit cheaper. And look at those percentage rates. The percentage rates is showing you the differences in increases of the shares. So while the buy-ins might be lower and the interest rates might be higher, you might see a difference in your expense ratios versus your percentage yields. And you want to be able to determine which ones are more feasible for your timeline, because you also have to understand that some of these are not providing a reasonable period of time depending on your time limit. So you want to make sure that you double check, because remember, we started with the 1 to 3, right? And then after we did the 1 to 3, the 0 to 3 months to 1 to 3 years to 1 to 5 years. And that's going to be some of the differences that we're going to be seeing with some of these. So you want to make sure that you cross-check them with expected return times or maturity rates. This one for the Fidelity, because the Vanguard is a 4.6% interest rate, which simply you just buy it, hold it, sell it whenever you want. Then the Fidelity Total Bond is going to vary. The yield is going to vary, and it's going to be competitive for core bond funds with an expense ratio of 36%. And this one, you can just buy it whenever you want, sell it whatever you want, and it's got a $45 to $50 buy-in. And then I think the Treasury bonds are the ones that are mostly with the limits, but this one is another SPDR Bloomberg 1 to 3 month T-bill ETF. And I don't even know, like, because when I think about T-bill, I think about telephone bills, but they've got a 4.5%, which is pretty low, but it's a guarantee. They are for ultra short-term minimal interest rate risks with treasury bills, T-bills, with investments in 1 to 3 months as well. So that's another one that I thought that you guys would like to have. And let me give you, and it's a $91.70 investment per share now. And then we have the other one, which the SPD portfolio, and they should both be found in the same location. So I'm going to give you their location in just a second. So you got your short term, and where there's a short term, there's a long term. As these things pop up in your comment section. This is a lot of facts. And this one is going to be found in Fidelity, Charles Schwab's, and Public as well. Now, I know y'all are like, well, it sounds like all of them are in the same spot. They're not. Some of them are at JP Morgan. Now, the brokerage platforms, I want to make sure that you guys have them. There's $0 to set up a lot of these accounts. Some of them are going to require you to for the treasury bonds, at least, they're going to be requiring you to put up, like, what do they call that? Social security numbers and stuff to that effect in order to establish the account. That's going to be done to deal with authenticity. I have nothing to do with that. You work at your own comfort level when you're doing these things online. I recommend that you call and talk to a real agent and get further insight before you start releasing confidential information over the internet. But they will be utilizing thin technology. So a lot of it is going to be just plug your information into the system and then get approved to utilize their system. And then after that, then you do whatever you want to do. I know a lot. I had that type of issue with Coinbase, with establishing my Coinbase wallet. They wanted to take photos and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not that kind of guy. I don't do photos. I'm doing a live podcast, but I don't do photos. So, but they do a pretty strict, identification scenario, because this is investments in money. They want to know that where the money coming from is legit on the investment, but they're also going to want to know where the money goes to for the person that's going to collect. So they want to make sure that they got the right person. I don't blame them. I have not heard of somebody creating a fraudulent investment portfolio and robbing an investment entity based on fraudulent transactions. So whatever they're doing, they're keeping your information pretty secure at this time. But you guys can see that if you go to these platforms, Charles Schwab, you have 0 down, 0 online payments with the trades. You have Fidelity, that's got 0 minimum down, and they also have 0 equity on their trades. Public has the same, and their Public offers promotions for new accounts. JP Morgan, self-directed, also has 0 down and $0 per trade, and they also have promotions for new funding for individuals that are just starting up. Vanguard is direct access to the Vanguard ETFs and mutual funds. So you just have to open up an account with any of the above brokers and then search for the ETF tickers that I gave you guys, and then purchase as many shares as you wish. So there's going to be no minimum beyond the price of a single share, meaning that the least that you can buy is 1 full share. So it's going to be different from apps like Stash App, where you can put up a certain number of dollars towards shares, regardless of if you have the value for a full share. That's going to be different. These places, if it is $100.65 a share and you only have $200, you don't have that extra $1.70 or $1.30. You're only going to be able to buy 1 share, because you have to buy the full $100.65 share. Or if it's $91.84, you got to have $92 to put towards that share in order to get that share. That's going to be the only change in that versus putting up $10 and getting 1.5 shares of Orchid, where Orchid Island is now at $7.28 a share, where it's gone up from $6.80 a share. So I told you so. Is going to start going back up, but it's going back up right now because the ex-dividend date is, I think, yesterday, and everybody was putting back in so that they can get those dividends for the dividend payout. And then shortly after the payout it's going to dip again. So if you buy in during a dip, you'll make more than buying in while it's up. So just note that, wherever you decide to put your money, you need to be putting your money in places where your money's making money for you. A lot of y'all that are young adults, y'all got kids, y'all found a way to balance your budgets. If y'all start taking some of this financial advice and start moving your money around, y'all literally need to start putting money aside for y'all child's college education. Y'all need to teach y'all kids how to invest. If y'all are single or dating, you want to put money aside for your retirement. But if you're got children, whether you're unwed parents or married parents, and y'all got children and y'all are trying to build an opportunity for your kids' success, y'all need to be creating specifically a trust for the kid that is not going to release the funds until your child is old enough to go to college. That way, the money just stays continuously being reinvested into the situation until the child reaches the age to go to college, and then the money will be directed towards the child's education, college education. And the child could still lean on student loans and government grants and other such. But if the child has a trust where he or she does not have to depend on the loans, the child could take the dividends from the trust that's paying for the child's education, because you're not going to be able to find a gridlock scenario where the kid's not going to get more money than what he or she needs for his education, because you're going to want to have an open-ended scenario where you're releasing funds for the education. Even if you're doing like a monthly distribution, knowing that right now, these days, that the child's education might cost more than $5,000, might release $2,000 a month. You might release $3,000 a month to make sure that the kid not only has enough money to cover each upcoming semester, but the kid also has spending money every month outside of that. Well, if the kid don't need the money because of grants and scholarships, the kid could waste the money, or the kid could reinvest your money back into something else, whether they start up their own stock portfolios, start up their own trust and take the money and invest it into their own trust, where they've got a trust paying them out and they're putting their money into another trust where that trust is going to pay them out a second time. If you teach them how to invest, this could go a long way. But building for your kids' success, that's why I give you guys a lot of these stock options, because if y'all are putting your money in places where the money's making money for you, your kids won't have a tough time going to college. Because if what they talking about is going into fruition over the next 2 years, 16-year-olds right now, 15 to 16-year-olds right now, when you guys are ready for college in 3 years, we're in 2025, in 2028, y'all are going to hate this country because y'all not going to have enough money to go to college if you're living in a broke family. But if right now in 2025 during a downturn, if you're investing all of your money into stocks and bonds and other investments so that you can be financially set in 3 years, in 4 years, because some kids like to take a year off from college, then in 4 years, guess what you're going to have? Enough money to put your kid through college. And you don't need to have $1 million to put your kid through college. Because if you only need $20,000 a year for your child's college education, you only need something that's going to produce $10,000 to $15,000 a year to offset the Pell Grant. Because if the Pell Grant's going to pay for half of it and you're going to pay for the other half of it, then what you really need is a $10,000 a year, which is $1,000 a month. And $1,000 a month on a 10% distribution, something close to $100,000. If you're doing an annual percentage yield of 10%, but if you're doing a monthly percentage yield of 10%, all you really need is $10,000 to give you $1,000 a month at 10%. So you just got to figure out where you're trying to put your money and how you're trying to get your money to make money for you. Now, not everything is good for everybody, and that's one of the reasons why not all people are not invested in the same. All people are not invested in the same investment opportunities. Oh, he said, what is the minimum amount shares to buy X? Are you talking about Twitter X? Because I don't think I know we did talk about Twitter X before. Let's see, share price. Let's see, I'm gonna grab you your last X dividend date as well, because those of you that are watching us on Twitter, y'all should be investing in the platform. Buy some stocks in the platform. You're using it. You should put your money where you put your services, because the more money that the platform makes, the more money you make. So right now it's $43.25. Wait, hold on. Wait, no. Oh, wait, no, that is for United States Steel Corporation with the ticker of X. So we need Twitter X. See, there's a big difference. But that one is actually giving you an annual dividend payout of 20 cents per share. So let's see if we can find out how much is Twitter worth right now. I forgot to talk about steel because because everything was going up with the tariffs with steel. So steel usage is going to be going down, but the difference is that it is going to give you a pretty decent return if you buy into it ahead of time. I meant you, Xander. Sorry. Oh, okay. What's the amount of your shares recommended to buy? Are you are you telling me to recommend you? Because I look. See, I just found you some information on Twitter X, thinking that you were talking about Twitter. But there goes your Twitter platform right there. You're asking me what do I think? Oh, let me put his question back up there. So y'all said, what is the minimum amount of shares would you recommend to buy? So it depends on what you're buying. You're buying treasury. We're talking about treasury bonds. We're talking about government funds that we're investing in, and you're asking me what is the minimum do I think that you can buy? Well, the least that you can buy is one. I would recommend that as far as treasury bonds are concerned, as far as the low interest rates, 4 to 7%, 36% in some situations for like 5 years of waiting to get your money back, you want to use that as a blanket for your high interest investment portfolios. For an individual that's got a large quantity of portfolio, I would say, hold on, let me tell you what others recommend. The experts recommend that you have 80% of your money in guaranteed or low risk, high interest investments, treasury bonds, index, S&P 500s, and all this other stuff. I am going to tell you, for a startup investor, for you guys that are trying to put your money somewhere to make money for you in a fast way, you are starting off from a mid-risk level. And that would mean that you would put your money towards what I would recommend would be real estate investment trust and any type of monthly or quarterly cash dividend distributor that has the highest payout per installment and the lowest buy-in. If you follow those, because I've been giving you a lot of those lately, and we've probably got about 20 of the best ones that we've already covered over the past 3 months. And if you have all 20 of those, and then you put all of your money across all 20 of those, the best one right now is still Orchid Island, because it is the cheapest one that is paying 12 cents a share. And that 12 cents a share is a monthly payout, versus some of the other ones that are paying out maybe 43 cents a share for like $14, but it's paying that 43 cents a share out quarterly. The difference between being 12 cents a share for 3 months, which is 36 cents in 3 months, versus 43 cents in one time every 3 months, is one, you've got a monthly payment to come through that you can live off of. And two, if the right now $7.28 or $7.50 a share for Orchid Island is half the price of the $14.35 Twin Harbor, you could buy 2 shares and have 24 cents a share every month for 3 months if you bought Orchid Island, instead of having 1 share of Twin Harbor, where it would pay you 43 cents once every 3 months. So now when you start doing the math, you say, well, the difference between me having 2 shares of this one paying 24 cents a month for 3 months, which will give me what, 72 cents once every 3 months, versus this other one that would give me 43 cents per share every 2 months, I would lean with the one that has the larger payout, because you're going to increase your money over a longer period of time. You're going to get more money in a short period of time, and you're going to increase your money quicker over a longer period of time. Now, I would recommend that about 10% of your investments is diversified into your trust, your treasury bonds and other stuff like that. But what I would do is I would put my principal income into high interest REITs and other such scenarios, so that I can start getting my monthly payments back. And then I would take those monthly payments that I'm getting back, and I would put that on the trust. So when you asked how much would I buy? Well, if I bought $1,000 worth of Orchid Island, then I would turn around and buy like $500 worth of treasury bonds. If I bought $100,000, or if I bought $1,000 worth of Orchid Island and $1,000 of the other 11 trusts, then I would buy $1,000 worth of treasury bonds, because I would be taking the payouts from the dividends distributed to me from the other real estate investment trust, and I would use the profits from my principal to diversify my portfolio instead of diversifying my principal. I would invest my principal to a direct specific source, and then as I watch the market, I would use the dividends paid to me to diversify my portfolio. So I'm still getting the maximum quantity of payout every month from my real estate investment trust, but I would then diversify to things that are going to take 1 to 5 years to mature. I would diversify to things that do not have a dividend distribution, like when I told you about buying into the WWE. The WWE is expensive to buy into if you're buying TKO stock. It's expensive to buy into with a low quarterly payment. But if you really want to get your money back off of your real estate investment trust and then buy you TKO stock, you can do that. Because if you're getting $300 or $1,000 or $2,000 a month from your cash stocks, and you're taking your cash stocks and buying into TKO stocks, you can eventually be a primary shareholder of TKO, but your principal investment is going into your cash stocks. And you don't have to just lean on real estate investment trusts. It's just that the real estate investment trusts are the highest paying ones, but they are still medium risk, because you have the opportunity for a real estate investment trust to go out of business. The ones that I gave you have been around for over a decade, so they are blue chip cash stocks because they've been around for over a decade. They are trusted. They guaranteedly pay out. I got paid from them last month, and this month they should be paying out again. So you should be able to say, okay, I can put my money here and it'll give me more money back. So you got to ask yourself, what is the amount of money that you will be satisfied with starting off now? Not like $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. Is it like $500 a month payout? Is it $1,000 a month payout? Once you reach that level, if you say, okay, I'm good with getting $500 a month payout from my portfolio, You put into your principal, you take your $500, you put your $500 towards something else, and then everything else, you can pocket that or reinvest it back into the real estate investment trust to expand it. And there's plenty of ways to diversify. But if you're using the interest from the principal and putting it towards something else, it's guaranteed money that's coming to you that you can guaranteedly put towards something else. But if you take your principal and put it somewhere else, it's just there. Now, the difference between putting 1,000 shares into a treasury bond versus putting 1,000 shares into something that's going to pay me $100 a month, which one would I lean towards? Probably the one that's going to pay me $100 a month, because the one that's going to pay me $100 a month will give me $1,000 in 10 months. Whereas the one that's going to give me 4% interest back over 3 years is only going to give me like $300 back in 3 years. This is why you have to gauge the payout timeline. And that's when you start talking about your risk threshold and your time threshold, because the timeline that you're willing to wait to get your profit versus whether or not you can lose this money is the difference in whether or not you can invest in this item. You can't put your rent money on a stock option talking about they're going to pay you back a percentage of that next month, because your rent is due right now. We're on the 29th of the month. Your rent is due next week, Wednesday. So you can't put your rent money up on a stock option today talking about I'm going to wait until next month and blase squaze. You got to pay your rent right now and take the difference and put on your stock option. But if you paid your rent for the next 6 months already, and you say, well, I'm going to take my rent money for the following 6 months and put it up into the stock option, and then I'm going to start taking the dividends that are going to be paid to me off of that investment and start paying my rent with that money, you might have a better chance. You might make enough money back off of your principal after 6 months to be able to say, okay, I can start paying my rent with my stock option. And if I'm paying my rent with my stock option, I could take my rent money and put it on the principal of my stock option, which still increases my stock option. I can make a habit of paying all of my bills through my stock option. Some places like Stash and Coinbase and other such cryptocurrencies allow you to use your account, your investment account, to pay for stuff. And if you do that, well, there's going to be some fees incurred in doing that, the cost of doing business. The fact is, you could put all your money into the stock option at that point and just charge all your bills to your stock option. And then you have more stuff that you can do with your thing. Basically, I said that's definitely what I would love to be able to do and start. See, now we all wish, but not all of us try. It's easy to think about doing. The hard part is applying that. You can pay for all of your bills. You just got to put your money away. Anything you don't need. That's why I was giving you guys that recipe for the Fit Chef yesterday. Because if you're eating full meals, you got the energy to go to work, make that money, but you're spending less money on groceries, you're spending less money. If you're paying for less things that you don't need, you're spending less money. If you're utilizing less subscriptions that you're not going to benefit from, you're spending less money. The less money you spend, the more money you have. It's not just saving, like putting it into a bank or putting it under your pillow or sticking it in the mattress or hiding it in the wall or something. You're taking it and you're putting it somewhere where from the time you put it there till the time you come get it, it's going to start generating you revenue. That is where it starts. And that's why I'm telling everybody, you asked me the difference between a non-monthly payer versus a monthly payer. I'm going to tell you, go for a monthly payer. But the difference between a monthly payer and a quarterly payer, you might want to get that quarterly payer if your monthly stock option that you like to put your money into is the same price or higher than your quarterly stock option. You might decide the month that the quarterly pays out to put all your money on the quarterly stock option before the ex-dividend date so that you can get the most money back from your quarterly stock option. Then the 2 months out of the quarter that is not being paid by your quarterly stock option, you're putting all your money on your monthly stock option. You're still redirecting your profits to increase the principal of whatever's paying you the most money that month, and doing it before the ex-dividend date. and that's going to give you the largest quantity of returns. The only other thing that I can tell you about that is when it comes down to the difference between massive growth of your stock versus the dividend distribution of your stock. If you're not doing ETFs, if the monthly payout is less than the price value that just increased, so say like you got $100 a share and it just went up $40 a share, or not even $40 a share. If you have a $10 a share stock, it goes up $4 a share. That's a 40% increase. And if you decided, we talked about this the other day, if you decided to sell that $40 difference off of 100 shares, where you sold 3 out of 10 shares, you're going to get more money off of selling those 3 shares than what you would getting the 12 cents a share off of the 10 shares. Because you would get $40 off of selling the 3 shares, and you would get $1.20 off of holding the 10 shares. So if you were trying to make the most money out of that scenario, you're like, hey, I'm up. Let me sell 3, keep 7, get my $1.20, but also get my $40. And that's just doing it on a 10 shares at $10 a share kind of scenario. Now, if the stock drops after the dividend payout, and the situation now where your 7 shares are now valued at $10 a share or $11 a share, and you buy back in with the $42 that you made off of your last transaction, you just increased your principal from 100 to 142 in less than 30 days time. Which means that next time around, when the stock market goes up that 40%, because whatever it does, it's going to do it regularly. And the next time it goes back up, you might have the ability to pull out $70 instead of 40. And so you might have sold 3 shares, and now you made enough money to buy 4 shares. And then next time you might be able to sell 2 shares and be able to buy 5 shares. And that's just based off of a micro level with transactions. But the more money you put away every month, the more money you're making every month. And the more money that you don't need to spend, that you end up not spending, the more money you have in the long run. Now, you're married, Bayside. Once you reach that point where, y'all want to retire, if you and your wife are putting y'all money together and putting money aside, you want to retire. If you put away 40% of your combined income every year, y'all are able to quit inside of 10 years. If you're saving this, instead of wasting it on frivolous vacations, if y'all just like grit it and say, okay, instead of us going on a short trip every quarter or going on an expensive trip every year, we're going to sit on this cash so that we can retire in 10 years and go on a bunch of trips. Because the difference between having $5,000 extra dollars during tax time to take that one Caribbean cruise versus getting paid $5,000 extra per month is the fact that you've got $5,000 extra per month. Now, the difference between having $5,000 extra per month and having $5,000 extra per month on top of your standard of living is the difference between taking a $5,000 trip every month versus taking a $5,000 trip once every 5 years. I know all of us can remember that one time we took a $2,000 vacation somewhere. The guy probably paid more often than not, unless it was a girls' night out and everybody pitched in. Everybody put up $750 to go on that $7,000 trip, Airbnbs and all this other stuff, and they had a blast that one time. But imagine putting away enough money where you could have that type of lifestyle every day, every week, every month, every year for the rest of your life. That would be the end goal. So instead of wasting your principal now for entertainment, invest your principal and spend the interest. That's a start. Now, if you invest your principal and reinvest your interest until you reach your goal, you're going to reach your goal faster than what you would if you just invest your principal and spend your interest. The less money you need to spend, the less money you should spend. So that's all I got for you guys for today. It was definitely a very interesting position. I really appreciate you guys coming to the show. I got a lot of y'all that came you know, as soon as I put DOGE up here, like we had gotten flooded today. There's a lot of people coming from YouTube, and we got quite a few coming from Twitter X. But don't worry, today was like political agendas, and tomorrow is going to be financial agendas. So tomorrow is going to be a really good topic as well. We're going to pick another country of choice. He said, well, thank you, Xander. Very much appreciated. Very grateful beyond words. This is what I do. I want to make sure that you have all the knowledge that you need to be successful, because men and women alike can take this advice. Ladies, y'all can invest in the type of lifestyle where y'all can get y'all hair did every week. You know, fellas, y'all can live the lifestyle where y'all got the car that you want. You got the cell phone that you want. You got the house that you want in the neighborhood that you want it in, built the way you want it to be built. But it takes a lot of effort. And there's two ways that we can go about doing it. We can either do it by putting all of our physical labor into something, or we do it by putting our money into a lot of different places where we can make money for us. And then if we put all of our money, we start making all this extra money, and like Bayside's got a revocable trust, we start putting our money in the offshore trust where the government can't come get them. They can't take legal action against you and then go after your trust. If your trust is out of this country, it's not inside the United States. One country cannot take legal action against another country for your assets. And it's not your assets if the trust is a standalone entity. So that's what you do. You build up your money, and before somebody calls themselves trying to sue you, you move your money out of the country. That way they can't go get them. You move it out of your country, you put it into the possession of another entity that you trust. That's where the trust comes from. You can also build your own trust. If you build a trust that's diversified in a situation where people will get off of it, you know, you could put together but it's going to be complicated, but you could do it. Like I told you guys about that Treasury bond trust that is not affiliated with Treasury bonds, but it is a company. It's an LLC or a C corporation that's a holding company that buys stock that is trust, or buys shares in a trust that buys shares into a bond. It holds that bond, and then while it holds that bond, it gets dividends from it, and as it gets dividends from it, it gives it to the shareholders. That's how you guys are able to do it. You asked me if I bought a Netflix stock for $1,100. Just one. Is that okay? Hold on, bro. I don't even think Netflix is worth that much. The short answer is it doesn't matter what you put your money into, as long as it's giving you the returns that you're looking for. And the best returns for you is going to be the based off of your desire for the quantity of return. Oh, snap. Netflix is $1,110.38. Why? With no dividend payouts to shareholders, where this is a growth-oriented company that reinvests its profits to contend and expand. So looking at Netflix stock, in April 28th, it was $1,085. That's the day to day. Hold on, let me look at what we got going on with Netflix. April 7th, Netflix was $828. And now that 20 days later, Netflix has gained $200. That's a growth stock. I would buy into that if you can afford it. Look at 3 months ago. March, it was $866. April, $855. That was its lowest. February, it was $1,058. So right now, being $1,110, it's higher than what it was. 973 in January. November of last year, it was 756. If you look at your year to date, it has only gained about $300. since the beginning of the year. But if you look at your year over year, April 29th of last year, it was $559.49. And April 29th of this year, it is double. Now, to answer your question, based on my ability to analyze the stock year over year, if it is doubling its percentages year over year, then yes, you should buy into the stock. We see right now in 2020, Netflix was $419. So if it was $419 in 2020, and 5 years later it's $1,100, where it has doubled its value in the last 12 months, then likely it will continue to double its value. Now, that is a stock that you buy and hold. That is not a stock that's going to pay you dividends. And depending on when you decide to sell the stock, depends upon how much you're going to make off of the stock versus when you bought the stock. Netflix is going to continue to increase in value based on the fact that more customers are traveling to Netflix and traveling away from cable. The most popular cable channels, services are starting to be seen on Netflix. Comedy shows, Raw, SmackDown. Well, not SmackDown. Raw is up there right now, but the football is up there. So like the NFL is starting to stream live on Netflix. Netflix is streaming the WWE live on Netflix. And there's a lot of other things like the Pop the Balloon thing that's supposed to be streaming live on Netflix this Thursday. And all of the different things that we would pay cable to watch, we're now getting those benefits from live streaming off of Netflix, which puts us on Netflix more often. We're still paying the $25 a month for the family plan for those of us that are paying for more than 2 devices on our account. And more customers are going to buy that product because Cox Cable is like $250 a month for basic cable, whereas Netflix is $25 a month for all of the stuff that you prefer to look at. And the cable channels, they don't even have nothing on cable that you want to see. And then you have to catch it when it's available because cable plays it all day long. Netflix is on demand. And Netflix is like the cheapest on-demand platform that we have right now because it's unlimited for a monthly fee versus others that are pay-per-view on demand. So technically, Netflix is a very viable stock to buy into since it doubled year over year since last year. It's gone up about 50%, a little over 50%. Would I say buy one? If you can afford one, buy one. If you can afford one, buy one. But if you can afford 10, buy 10. If you can afford 100, you buy 100. But just note that that's when your money stops, because you're putting your money into a place where the value of the shares is all that you've got. Now, note to self, though, remember I told you before that you can leverage the value of your stocks for cash loans. If your portfolio is, I would have it, about 70% cash stocks, 50% cash stocks at the least, and then the rest of it could be non-cash stocks that are high valued stocks that are continuously exploding in the market, diversifying my portfolio into things that will give me high value. I can use those non-cash stocks as leverage towards high cash loans. So say I've got $100,000 worth of stocks in general. 50% of them are paying me dividends. That means that if 50% of them are paying me dividends, and the dividends that they're paying me is upward of $20,000 a year, if I take out a $50,000 loan, I can leverage $50,000 to $100,000 worth of stocks as collateral towards the loan, where I'm doing a 100% collateralized cash loan. They give me the $50,000 cash. They set me up with $1,000 a month payments, which is $12,000 a year worth of payments, but I'm making $20,000 a year worth of profits off of the stock investment. Then I can buy that $50,000 item cash up front, make the $12,000 worth of payments off of the stock option, and then not have to worry about it. because the other $8,000 a year that I'm getting off my stock option, I can reinvest into the stock option. Where essentially, in comparison to putting physical labor into getting the money to buy something, I'm getting free stuff. Then when you think about the fact that any cash loans that are paid off by the stock debt reduces the debt, the tax debt on the stock profits. So you save money by buying something. So that's what I would be looking at with something like that. So yeah, buy you some dang Netflix. There's not too many things that if you use Netflix on a daily basis, you should buy you some Netflix stock. You should buy you some YouTube stock, buy you some Twitter stock, buy you some TikTok stock, because when TikTok gets sold for trillions, you want to buy you some TikTok stock. You want to find a way to get onto the Chinese market and buy TikTok stock before it sells to the US, so that whatever the value becomes when the US buys it, you've got TikTok stock. Then you want to buy TikTok stock in the US so that whatever happens to it after that, you got you some TikTok stock, because it's gonna blow up. It's gonna blow up. And even if it's not a cash dividend distributor of wealth, the value of it can be used to leverage for something else. And when you start having $500,000 worth of stocks, you can buy you a house cash up front, because you can borrow money, buy the house, get the deed, take the stock, pay the loan. Then if you really want to do something, you can mortgage the house, use the mortgage off of the house to buy another house, and then have the stock pay both loans. And then you can have the second house that is a rental property, pay you money off of that. Where ironically, if you mortgage the second house, you might be able to buy a third house where the two houses are paying on the loan and the stock option is paying on the other two loans. So out of the 4 loans, you've got 2 tenants and a stock option paying 4 loans. You don't got to do nothing. Now you want to make sure that you're not spending more money than you're making. But the fact is that assets over equity, if you've got just that much to do, you can do a ton of stuff. But the rule of law that a lot of the wealthy people say is that you have to have 3 times more than what you're about to buy, or 10 times more than what you're about to buy. So if it costs $500,000, you need 1.5 million to go get it. Or if it costs $500,000, you need 5 million to go get it. That way you're spending wisely, living beneath that 30% cap. The same way they want your credit score to have 30% credit utilization, you want to have your entire standard of living be 30% of the income that you're bringing in. Until you get your lifestyle to 30% of the money that is coming in, you either have to increase the quantity of money that you're making or decrease the quantity of money that you're spending, or both, until you reach that 30%. Once you reach that 30%, you want to try to aim down to 10%, but once you reach to that 30%, that's when you're golden. Your debt to credit ratio will be phenomenal. Your credit score will be outstanding. Your ability to get money to borrow will be fantastical. And then when you go out to get your SBA loan with a legitimate business doing a personal guarantor, because your finances is on point, your credit is on point, and you're under 120 years old, over the age of 18, they will grant you that $50,000 SBA loan. And then you just take the $50,000 and you can do whatever you want with your business, or you can invest it into something that's giving you back more money than the SBA loan is charging you interest for, and then take that profit, pay off the SBA loan, and then take the rest of it and put it towards your business. If you can get a $50,000 loan from an SBA loan and flip it to make 15 to 20% interest, while SBA is charging 12%, the top end is 12%. Some might be 14, but the top end is about 8 to 12% interest on an SBA loan of $50,000. You can go get you a $50,000 SBA loan and put it into a high interest stock option that's paying you 12 cents a share at $7.50 a share for $50,000. You could have you a few 100,000 shares at 22% interest. You you could literally be making about $20,000 a year off of borrowing SBA loans. And then if you're paying those SBA loans back in a reasonable period of time, you could borrow higher loans. Because if you borrow from the same borrower the second time that you borrow, they trust that you'll pay them back. So if you ask them for more the second time, they will give it to you because you're going to give them their money back with interest. It's the cost of doing business. We've got to change our mindset. Once we change our mindset, we'll be more financially successful. So since I've gone through my second spiel of the day, I really appreciate you guys coming to the show. We are about 68% followership for the fellas. So ladies, keep coming in, keep learning, keep putting your financial advice that you're getting from me. This is a male-driven podcast from a male perspective. Put it towards your ability to be financially successful. I want to see more female millionaires that don't get their wealth from divorce. I'm looking for some boss ladies. In order for me to find some boss ladies, I got to make them. In order for me to make them, I got to educate the women on ways for them to put their money in places where they can make money where they don't need a man's money. Then when you find a man, you'll value the man based off of his personality and his characteristics, because you don't need his money. You rich. That's why Ken had Barbie, because she ain't need nothing but a companion. That's the mentality of men. When everybody's looking for a companion, that's when love works the best. Fellas, y'all gonna have a rat race because these women are making money now. Y'all gonna have a rat race, and you already know that a lot of these women want, no matter how rich she is, she wants her man to be richer than her. So y'all better start taking these adviceful tips that I'm giving you and putting action to them. Don't just treat what I tell you like scripture in the Bible, talking about something we're gonna pray on it and see what happens. If you don't take action, faith without work is dead. If you do not take action, you will not see results. You must do something. If you do something, you will see something, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. But if you don't do nothing, you're not going to see nothing change. And I'm a man of change. I've been doing more change than Obama's campaign. I ain't doing nothing but change. So with that being said, y'all stay tuned for tomorrow night's show. We should be starting around about the same time, close to 10:30. Central Standard Time, which is about 11:30 Eastern Time, about 7:30 California time in the PM hours, and that is around 4 to 4:30 a.m. Greenwich time and Universal Standard Time for those of you that is on the eastern side of the world. Special shout out to Vietnam. 45% of our followership this month has been from Vietnam, and others. We got about, I think, 12 or 15% from Russia. So I really appreciate you guys for watching us all over the world. Yeah, that's all I got for you. So thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander. For he said LOL, amen. Hey, I really appreciate that. But I'm your host, Xander, for This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night. Oh, and real quick before I dip out, any comments that come into the channel during the outro, the song will go up onto the show. So make sure that you use those reaction buttons, hit the like button if you haven't done so already, and throw your positive comments into the comment section as we walk off of the show. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you very much.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.